This is the story of how I was violently assaulted in a mosh pit. Yes, all of the incels that I have recently attracted, despite making men's rights videos for the last, 2 years, they'll be very excited about this story. So if you're thinking to yourself, she doesn't look like the kind of girl to be in a mosh pit, you are correct. I am not the kind of girl to be in a mosh pit. I'm not exactly a concert goer who jumps up and down and dances or anything like that. In fact, I stand very still and just simply look around and observe. I guess I'm just not that fun. However, my husband is apparently great at moshing. So the last concert we went to was years ago. It was a In This Moment concert. I went with my husband and my brother-in-law and my husband's friend and his wife. And my husband and his friend were just having fun in this mosh pit area. Now, anyone who knows me and follows me knows that we call my husband the Viking, for reasons which would be obvious if you saw him. So he's had a few drinks and he's having the time of his life in this mosh pit. And I'm just on the outside kind of watching. Now, there was this one guy who was a bit smaller than a lot of the other people. Honestly, he was probably about my size, and I'm a fairly small, petite woman. I am hilariously smaller than my husband. Like, it's funny. You see pictures of us together. It is humorous. So my husband is a big guy who's having fun with the other big guys. And this one guy is just kind of, he's very, very aggressive, but I guess still very small. So he's jostled around a little bit, as they do in mosh pits. And my husband is one of these men. So this guy kind of locks onto my husband. And at one point, my husband comes over all like giddy, and he's had a few drinks by this point, and he gives me a kiss and he jumps back in, and it was very cute. I watch as this other squirrely guy looks at my husband and then looks at me and locks eyes with me. And he gets this look on his face. And I had seen that look before, because unfortunately I have been in violent situations with men. And I recognized this look. And that's when my life kind of went into slow motion. And I think very, very quickly in crisis situations because of, survival mechanisms kicking in. And I recalled the various fights that I had been in, which have been a comical amount. Looking at me, you'd never know that I'm extremely scrappy and have been in quite a few fights. Oftentimes it was men attacking me. Sorry, Mom, if this is how you're finding this out. Which, side note, I still make videos talking about men's rights stuff, even being the victim, the violent victim of men. Just like how I still make videos standing up for mentally ill people, even being the violent victim of mentally ill people. I'm still going to stand up for truth, even if I'm a victim of those people, because I understand it's not all of them. So get it together. Moving on. So I start to think very quickly as my life goes in slow motion. And I realize that even though I could probably defend myself against this guy when he comes at me, the last thing I want is for my slightly drunk Viking husband to turn around and see me fighting with some guy, my former Marine, trained unaliver husband, with some drinks in him, would simply walk over and take care of the problem. I could not risk that happening. So in this few seconds that I recognized this guy's look on his face, and he got that little smile, I realized that the best course of action would be to take the hit and do everything possible to make sure that my husband doesn't see. And so with my life still in slow motion, I watched this guy bend forward at the hips, and with a solid 10-12 feet of clear running space created by Satan himself, I saw this man bend forward, and he ran at me with my brother-in-law on one side of me, not really paying attention, and the wife of my husband's friend on the other side of me. This man ran at me and ran his head straight into my stomach, knocking me backwards, knocking the absolute wind out of me. My brother-in-law looks down, freaks out, grabs this man, throws him off of me, and of course, this guy disappears, never to be seen again. You know, like a coward. But that's what these guys do, right? This guy was extremely insecure, looked at my husband, was jealous of my husband, let's face it, because of his size and his abilities. And my good-looking giant Viking husband walks over and happily kisses his good-looking wife. And this guy loses his mind. Now, men like this, they can't take on the Vikings, can they? That's why they go for the women. A great example of this would be the woman-hating incels who came after me recently. They can't take on the men's men. But they're cowards who go after women. So back to the story. Thank God I was not pregnant at the time. Oh my gosh, this was a thought I had after. Not that I would go to this event while pregnant, but I could have been pregnant and not known it. Twice now, I have literally run for my life from men chasing me when I was pregnant and did not know that. Those are stories for another time, but I'll probably never tell them. So my brother-in-law and the wife of my husband's friend helped me up, and she says, I'm going to get the guys. And I grab her arm with what strength I could muster, and I pull her down, and I said, no, you do not tell them. And she's like, well, why? They'll mess him up. And I said, yeah, they'll mess him up. I love my husband enough to make sure he does not go to jail. I knew I had to take the hit. So that's my fun mosh pit story. The moral of this story is that the only men who hurt women are the ones who know they could never take on the real men. Gotta feel good about themselves somehow.